do believe we are live. So I'll say, indeed, and greetings unto you, beloved and holy friend. Thank you for joining me again on another conscious evolution. Thank you for joining me, seriously. Today we're going to talk about being victims, suffering, specifically how we are not here to be victims and to suffer. We are here because we noticed victims, we noticed suffering. And I do believe that we're here to actually make a difference, to change the state of suffering that we are witnessing. And I appreciate you, friends, for that. Thank you for joining me, finding yourself
Appreciate
here.
you, friends, for that.
Thank you so much for finding the time. It's always a dear blessing. Joy is here. Beloved Shantu, of course, Duck Dad. Please, sir, may I have some morning melt and friends? Gives you a big scoop of morning melt and friends. Maybe I'll start with like a little bit of kalimbaing, just to give us like a moment to integrate. I'm officially not smoking weed anymore. I say that. I wrote it in my journal as well. I'm also fasting. Today is day 2. I'm feeling good, but I'm feeling all of the things, all of the things that I'm meant to be feeling after all. Every single time I go through these processes, it's always a lesson, right? And I'm not suffering. No, no, suffering is a choice. You're like, the fuck, man? Aren't you talking about victims and how people have suffered in this world? Yes, yes, I did talk about that. Hey, Corey, so cool seeing you, dude. Sending your lovin's. Connor is here too. But suffering is when we want for things to be differently. You can experience pain, you can experience injustice, you can experience extreme inequality, but that doesn't mean you have to suffer, right? Sure, you can suffer. Suffering is available to you at all times, but I do believe that we get to choose. It's not always an easy choice, but more and more we'll get better at these choices. Connor, so nice seeing you. I'm starting to feel less like a victim today, but still sour taste of the city, I can imagine. And rightfully so, I believe as well. Oh Lordy, you may not be suffering, but you're the ones that are going to have to deal. But we're the ones that are going to have to deal with you. Yeah, it's true. It's true, Joy. I mean, I'm not that bad when I'm fasting, am I? Do I get that insufferable when I'm not eating and not smoking weed? Doubling up. I absolutely loved going to the kids' event and the kids and parents were eating it up with a spoon. I'm so happy to hear that. Suffering is a choice, as is love and happiness. Lord, give me the strength to change the things I can and the ability to recognize the things that I can't. One that I like, that I've been repeating to myself as well, almost in the same fractal, Corey, is I will accept the things that I cannot change, but I will change the things that I cannot accept. Right? And that is going to be a process. I feel it's going to be a large one. It's going to be a hard one. Hey, Shane. Sending your lovin's to again. Sam, so nice having you. Must be a C name thing. Corey and Connor, do you do trouble and packs? So much love. Suffering is totally a part of life. How much weight and bearing you give to it is up to us. Completely agreed. Taking this into mind, absorbing this lesson, really considering our suffering, the parts of us that have been hurt, right? I'm not claiming you haven't been hurt, or if you've been hurt and you feel hurt, you shouldn't be feeling hurt. All I'm saying is we're capable of not seeing ourselves as victims, right? And I feel that there is this genuine value in not seeing yourself as a victim. So with that in mind, I'm gonna play some kalimba. 4 minutes and 44 seconds starting. Interesting. It's curious how every single time I choose to play this little instrument, it's almost like I don't know what I'm doing at first. And then I start thinking I know what I'm doing. And then it's like, actually, you don't know what you're doing. So I have to correct you again. And it's actively this process of almost like relearning, remembering how to do it properly. And I'm trying to attach this whole feeling I'm having, this experience of knowing exactly what it is I'm doing, knowing that I'm just playing a little instrument, that the stakes aren't that high. And at the same time, trying to figure out how I can be better, right? Thinking about it in today's stream topic scenario of feeling victimized, right? It's very easy for us to feel victimized. Like we're quick to create these elaborate little stories in our heads. Become convinced, if you will. Let me read some comments. Let me read some comments. Yes. See what our dear friends wants to say. Are they not loading? Let's try that again. There we go. Hey, Giovanna's here too. So nice having you, dear friend. Suffering study vibes. That Corey. The problem is that I'd like to stop thinking about it, but my brain literally won't put it down. Yeah. How about that one, right? I feel like maybe that is what I'm trying to get at as well, Sam. Is that energy of knowing what is expected of you. Maybe that's where I'm actually getting at. Knowing what is expected of you, right? Be it letting go of something, reducing the suffering by doing so, right? And still, regardless of your knowing, not doing it. For instance, I don't really like to attach the vector of finances to suffering, but there is definite suffering that happens to us in having to consider this financial fractal we find ourselves in. And I find myself in this position where I know things that I could sell in order to make monies. And I know what is expected of me. I know how I'm supposed to develop the products. I know the effort I have to put in. I know the websites I have to build. I know the outreach I have to do. I know the type of problems I can help solve. But I don't. I don't do any of those things, do I? No. And I'm trying to understand, is it because I don't want to be victimized by this chase for money? Is it because I don't want to be victimized by myself, exploited, if you will, by myself to make myself more money, right? And it sounds so stupid when I say it in that way. And yet that is what I'm dealing with right now, where I value my time so much. And I know, I know, unfortunately, I know that this is going to be the calmest I'll ever get to be in my life, right? These moments right now is the most relaxed I'll get to be in my whole life. And it trips me out. It trips me out that that part of me that knows that this is the only time I'll get to relax. It's also the one that's loud about me not supposed to, right? Telling me that I'm supposed to do more things. And I can't say that it's wrong. I think that's the worst part. Is like exactly the same, trip of me talking about being a victim. I might not be wrong, right? Relatively speaking, but that doesn't make me right. It doesn't make the things that I'm sharing any less painful to accept, right? The reality of the situation isn't any less real. Still something we're gonna have to deal with. Melt gets spicy around fast day 4 with no weed. Tips on day 3. Yeah, maybe I'll start eating tomorrow. Maybe I'll start eating tonight. Who knows? I'm fasting just because I feel I needed to. I feel like the new me stream we did a few days ago really kind of kicked my ass a little bit. Because this new me that I want to be is one not addicted to sugar. It's like, yeah, this is the me I want to be. This is the me I am, right? And again, right? A part of me would like to believe that I am victimized by sugar, or at least the industries that got me addicted to it since I was a child, right? Like, because there definitely is a corporate interest to get people viciously addicted to sugar. And I can be like, oh, I've been so victimized by these corporate fuckers. Trying to ruin my health while taking my money so that they can take my money, trying to give me back my health or whatever, right? And then yet, even though I know these things, even though I fully understand what is expected of me, it doesn't make it any easier to actually do it, to actually just do it, to actually just not eat sugar, right? And I would like to believe that it's not always that hard, but it doesn't seem to get easier. So maybe we're supposed to get strong. Landscaping is so fun. I'm so happy to hear that, dude. Doc, I'm reminded of the saying, how much suffering is your peace worth? How much suffering is your peace worth? Attaching suffering to wanting for things to be differently, especially with this peace attachment as well, right? Because I believe this, I really do, that I only suffer when I want for things to be differently, right? Oh, I'm in pain. Oh, if only I wasn't in pain. That whole thing, that narrative, that's suffering. I want to be with this person, but she doesn't want to be with me. Oh, if only she was with me. Suffering, right? Sure, you can suffer someone not wanting to be with you, but in creating the narrative in your mind over and over again. Oh, if only. Oh, it should be. It's supposed to be. No, no, that's suffering. And then the peace aspect of it, right? Again, I feel like you rob yourself of peace. Maybe that is the way it's supposed to be interpreted. How much suffering is your peace worth? Is your peace worth more than this narrative of suffering? That's a question to the ego, to the mind. I planned on coming into the stream, giddy, but it seems to be taking me down the depths as well. Things to be considered after all. Doug, I'm reminded it. So much love. Nice, Connor. Landscaping is the best mind cleanser for me. Let the body take out the tension and keep my brain busy. Then the second brain and I can wander and think critically. Yeah, Corey, I think that a lot. So much love. So glad the kids' event went well. Thank you again, Jovan, for joining us. Suffering is a corrective to point out a lesson which by other means we have failed to grasp, and never can it be eradicated until the lesson is learned. Makes me think about, there's a book, like if life was a game, these are the rules. I think the book is called, or something like that. And one of the core lessons from that book that kind of stuck with me is this aspect of lessons as well, actually, Shan. How lessons are an inevitable part of this experience. That you're gonna learn lessons, or learn a lot of lessons, ceaselessly learning more lessons every single day. And if you don't learn the lesson, then the lesson is going to be repeated, right? So I'm attaching that understanding to your comment. Suffering is a corrective to point out a lesson which by other means we have failed to grasp, and never can it be eradicated until that lesson is learned. You're gonna keep suffering, right? You're gonna keep wishing for things to be differently until you change, right? Until you realize that the suffering is something you're doing to yourself through exposing yourself to a certain idea, to a certain substance, to a certain experience, to a certain person. I like that, Shan. I know you've said it before. It's like from your Batch Remedy book, I believe, but it's still so valuable to be reminded of. Something worth saying, right? Instead of asking why this has happened, ask why does it bother me so much? Power, usually. That's like the answer that came like to my mind instantly, Connor. The reason I suffer more than anything is because I feel powerless. Right? I'm like, oh, I know what needs to be done, what could be done, but it isn't done. So I suffer because it should be differently. I should have the power to have done it. At least that's my trip. That's where most of my suffering comes from, feeling powerless. And sometimes the lesson of suffering is that someone is hurting you deliberately. There we go. Asha Masha case. We have a Pippi. You see her face. There she is. You want to get on my lap? Is that what's happening here right now? Yeah, there we go. Sweetie patootie. Okay. Corey Williams, Duck Dad, Joe Bot. Hey, it's Kristen. Thank you for joining us, dear friend. It's nice having you here. I'm on 2 times speed, Kalimba's 2 times speed, Kalimba's fire. I didn't even consider that. That does sound pretty cool, actually. You can do it, Mel. So much love. How much suffering is your peace worth? What's suffering is inevitable in this life. So we must suffer our suffering. So we must not suffer our suffering. Yeah, exactly. Right. And I think Alan Watts did connect suffering to pain in that lecture that he did, Jovan. So I don't completely agree with him, but I don't completely agree with the statement that suffering is inevitable. I believe pain is inevitable, right? But I don't think suffering is inevitable. I do think suffering is a choice, and I'm probably gonna get flack for that, but I'm okay with it because I noticed that I can also choose to not suffer, right? Almost from a place of choosing to accept instead, right? Instead of wanting for things to be differently, I can accept them as they are, and then as I learn to do that, the suffering dissipates along with it. Fortunately. How much suffering is your peace worth? Acceptance, there it goes. Oh, goodness. Corey already said it. So, acceptance is one of the paths out of suffering. This girl doesn't want to be with me as much as I want to be with her. I also don't want to have a fake relationship out of pity or guilt. Exactly. Acceptance, right? Deep acceptance. And unfortunately, I have tried to share that perspective with my friends as well so many times at this point, Corey, where friends of mine get broken up with or something along the line, a person stops talking to them, there's like some level of rejection, and then there is hurt, so much suffering that arises from that experience. And then I remind them, yeah, this feeling you're feeling, worthy, valid, nothing wrong with it. But also, even if you could have been with this person, right, let's try and reconstruct this idea. You tell me, oh, this person doesn't want to be with me, and then I can go like, yeah, if that person wanted to be with you, that would have been the only scenario in which that person being with you is right, is good, is just, is devoid of suffering. When we do things out of coercion, or when we do things out of like a sense of need, situationships, right? As a word we have invented for ourselves. Getting into a relationship because that just happens to be the situation you're in. Feeling lonely. Feeling lonely and trying to create a difference, right? Trying to escape your suffering by pulling someone else into it, being like, I'm suffering, and I'm suffering in this specific this specific way, loneliness. Now you gotta facilitate me not being lonely so that I can see suffering. No, you're gonna still suffer. You're just gonna suffer differently, right? You can suffer loneliness even harder with someone if you feel alone in their presence, right? Like that's a big one. Melty, I want to show you something. Check Discord on general. This is your plant. I left it in the sun and it looks like it's feeling your weight. But after a bit of water and rest, it will flourish. Dude, you're tripping me out, bro. I'm not feeling angry or sad. I'm just noticing in myself this this unwillingness to, oh goodness, that's so beautiful. I'm seeing some of the AI art I made that I haven't seen before, and the first thing that my thing opened up to. General tab. Suffering happens, but just like this, we'll be resilient in a bit of love. Doesn't look too bad to me. All right. You can see it's a little bit wilted, but that looks still like healthy wilt. Like that's how much you want it to be wilted before you give it water again, I believe. Thank you, Brother Bear, for sharing that photo with me. Yeah, I'm not angry or sad or upset or disappointed. I'm just noticing. I'm noticing how a part of me, the egoic part of me, wants to make more money, wants to have the resources to be able to do things. And then this version of me, right? This moment's version of me values calm, values contentment, values tranquility, values time, to myself more than it values money. And it's concerning, right? It's a little bit concerning because I feel like I can't do that. Like I'm not supposed to be doing that. Like I'm supposed to be doing something else. And it creates a sense of dissonance. Makes me feel like I'm running in place. Is that Alexa? Well, Alex and Drax, her and her doggo, sending you love and dear friend. It's nice seeing your name in chat again. It's been a while. Too much acceptance of suffering is called gaslighting. It's true. In certain situations, I mean this. I get you. But in this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. You should stop saying that. You can say death can be certain, but I don't want to accept that taxes are inevitable. Tax the rich. Tax those who hold 90% of the wealth. All right? How about that? How about you stop taxing people who hold 10% and start taxing people who hold 90%? It's almost like there's a lot more to be taxed in the 90% than there is in the 10. I'm getting so triggered. Why am I triggered? Knowing what needs to be done and being unwilling to, right? I guess that's the energy I'm feeling today. Suffering. Is that suffering? Am I suffering right now? Wait a second. Is this? Am I? How do you get to happiness from a point of being miserable? I feel like it's so far away. I just want to be happy again. It's a good question you're asking, Alex. Best advice I can give you is gather evidence, right? Like I do consider myself a scientist, not in the trained kind of way, but more in the conceptual kind of way. Like I believe your body is a lab, right? Like a laboratory, and then depending on the things you input, you get a certain output. And one of those outputs happened to be this thing we call happiness. And it's brutal because sometimes we know how to input a certain set of things, and then it generates this output we call happiness, and then it stops doing that, right? There is change in what we need to do in order to generate that happiness. So what I've noticed in my experience at least is that I should do what I love, right? What I really love, and at the same time notice other people love as well. Something that creates a certain sense of beauty, right? Something to love. And you gather evidence in that way. And it can be something simple like the way you stir your coffee, the effort you put into making it, the way you brush your teeth, the the exercise you do, the food you eat, the time you take for yourself to go and just, you know, see the outside a little bit. There's so many ways to gather evidence for how love is supposed to look like in your life. And I've noticed that the more evidence I gather for how loved I am, even if it's through other means, right? Like to remind myself of how loved I am by other people, to remind myself of how loved I've been throughout my life, to be able to be here right now. That helps me be happier. I don't know if it facilitates perfect happiness always, but it does help little by little. Keep showing up, Alex. right? We show up in this space every day for that happiness, for that evidence of love as well. We love you. It's nice seeing you. You'll be happy again. Don't worry about it. I learned so much from you about this shell. I appreciate all of it. Love is true. Thank you, Sam. Update. Perp seems out on leave. Boss on meeting with legal currently. Sounds good to me. Is it good? Is it a good thing? I mean, knowing some of the context, it sounds like that is like a step in the right direction. I don't know if it's good, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. Suffering isn't a choice if it's an external situation that was forced upon you. However, how it's processed can be a choice down the road. technically, technically, and this is again where things get a little bit wonky with the philosophy that I prescribe to. There is no isn't a choice and it being external situation is forced upon you. There's no such thing, Doug, that in my mind. In my mind, there's no such thing, right? Because if you didn't choose to show up in love as yourself, I believe, as God, you wouldn't have the opportunity to have some sort of external situation cause you suffering, right? So I believe even in that, it was a choice. You chose to suffer, right? In that way, suffering remains a choice in my mind. Like there is no escaping the fact that we do sometimes suffer and we do gather evidence negatively, right? We can put ourselves in a situation where someone takes advantage of us and then we suffer that situation because we want for it to be differently. Oh, it shouldn't be this way. Suffer, 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 suffer. So yeah, it's good for us to differ, but I completely agree with the rest of your sentiment of however how it's processed can be a choice down the road to look back on the things that we did suffer and then to reframe to not continue suffering that experience, in hindsight at least. So much love. Thank you, Joe, for sending love as well. Sam, the most beautiful part of my life currently is bonding and sharing of loves who share this experience and grow together. This is the way. Doug, put that in the book of future lessons for Duckling. So much love. Start asking your supervisor for permission to use them as a reference, Shelley. You may or may not be seriously looking for other work, but having that extra leverage may serve you during negotiations. There we go. Alexa, please bring your miserable self here and be with us. You are loved completely here. So beautifully said. Exactly. You will be uplifted little by little. Even if my upliftment sometimes is like, hey, look, all of it's your fault. And I have this conversation with my mom as well, where she complains about my dad sometimes. She complains about having seen issues with him even when they were going on their first date. My dad is very stingy still to this day. He's getting better, but it's been a big part of his character and it's been a big part of the thing my mom has a problem with because him being stingy to her communicates you're not worthy, right? Which is obviously not what he's saying, but that's the way it is interpreted by the feminines perspective, right? And it's like, nah, don't get this expensive thing, get this cheaper one. To him, it's like, I'm gonna save X amount of capital that I can then put somewhere else, right? That's what his masculine problem solving mind is doing. Her mind is, no, you are not worthy of expensive thing. You are only worthy of cheap thing. Vice versa, you are not more worthy than cheap thing, right? Like you are cheap thing kind of perspective. And that causes suffering. And I apologize to my mom. I say sorry for needing to be born. That's like the perspective. I'm like, sorry, mom, you needed to marry my dad in order to generate me into this world. And if you didn't, I would have ceased to exist. So thank you. And then she'll like she did this the last time we had this conversation where she's like, yeah, it's all your fault. And I'm like, yeah, it is. It is all my fault. And there's like an acceptance. I don't suffer the fact that this life is my fault, all right? Because there's no fault. I'm not a victim. I'm not here because I'm a victim. I'm here because I am lovingly participating. We are lovingly participating. You, as consciousness, only open your eyes if there is love to be had, right? For you to lovingly participate in. Otherwise, what's the point, right? Why not just go to sleep and then never wake up again? Not saying commit suicide, saying if we as consciousness didn't choose to come back to this experience, why wake up in the morning as ourselves over and over and over again? Right? Like we can experience vastly different realms of experience in our dreamscapes, and we do. And yet we keep coming back to be this version of self that you call you. Myself, right? This myself, this version of self that I touch when I put my hand against my face. And there's no difference between me doing that and you doing that. It's a hand being put on a face, right? The only difference is that I identify this face as my own and you identify yours as your own. But it's the same I that identifies. It's the same consciousness that shows up in this world. And that consciousness in my mind is everywhere. Everything, the primordial force that allows for everything, God, right? You as God choosing this experience because this experience holds value to you as God to experience. Otherwise, you wouldn't. And it's a hard pill to swallow, right? Accepting suffering as our own doing, even if someone else did it to you, still you suffering yourself at the end of the day, suffering your suffering. Start asking your supervisor, you guys are amazing. No, you, Alex. No, you. Sam, I'm printing out 10 years of reviews saying top performer. That sounds so sick. Yarg, fat fucking fingers. I'm printing out the reviews saying that I'm top of the team. I got this, like, got that. Like how Shell just goes like full savage on herself. Don't tax the dude working hard to create a product on his own land with his own mind to take from his meager earnings. Exactly, dude. Like it pisses me off. It really viscerally makes me angry that we've accepted this kind of behavior. And at the same time, we have companies as entities, you know, that get to earn absurd amounts of wealth and then get to not be taxed on that. Alex, you can tell us what's up. And we're amazing listeners. Yes, we are. We're here for you. Suffering isn't a choice, Duck. Doug, are you under the impression that a country created for purposes of tax dodging isn't going to lie, steal, and loot like a commonplace pirate state? I don't think he's suggesting anything. I just think he's mentioning. He's just mentioning, right? Noticing, participating at the end of the day as well. All of us are participating in this system as it is. And we are in part expected to. We will die if we don't, right? If I don't participate in the system that is my own body, I die. If I stop breathing, which is a part of the system, I die. If I stop eating food indefinitely, which is a part of the system, I die. If I stop drinking water, right, etc., etc. If I stop sleeping, like we have some rules that we do have to follow, and unfortunately, right now we find ourselves in a time in history where the rules have been set by people that are not us. And now we're noticing, right? We are actually just noticing, realizing that we have to participate in the system. I'm thinking about a quote Sam shared that it's okay to participate in a broken system while working to fix it. That was a big one for me. It still echoes in my mind. Thank you for that, Sam. Sharing so much wisdom. How What a happiness thrill just passed through me. Goosebumps. I'm so happy to hear that, Shell. You deserve it. How to make happy. When you feel a spark of love, explore that feeling, dissect it, take note of what that spark makes you do, and then do that for yourself and others. Ooh, is how I learned how to love bigger. I love that. That's such beautiful advice. That's perfect, Jovan. Notice what you do when you have this spark of love, this experience of, I love this so much, I'm gonna do this, right? And then whatever that thing is that you did, do more of that, right? Even if you don't get the spark. Like that's the difference between motivation and discipline for me. Like I do sometimes feel motivated to share love. Sometimes. And when I feel that motivation, I will and I can beautifully so share that love. But I'm not always motivated. So I apply discipline, right? I apply to the understanding that it is good to share love every day, even if you don't feel like it, right? Even if you're suffering, especially if you're suffering, even. Doesn't make it any easier, but it does make it true. I love little burpees, so I caught myself loving how they move, the noises they make, noticing what they like to eat, and to supply it for them. Then, noticing that we can do the exact thing for ourselves and others. Giovanna is sharing such beautiful wisdom right now. I posted your comment to the Discord clips. Love is true. I can appreciate being stingy with money, especially if he had little growing up. This was the case. He was one of 8 children. Excuse me. He was one of 8 children, and his dad passed away when he was like 6. No, when he was like 11. Yeah. So his mom was alone for a bit, for like 2 years, and then she married someone else. And yeah, money wasn't abundant, unfortunately. And it does create these behaviors, right? Of needing to be stingy, feeling like there's not enough in the world. But my dad showed up for a fractal, studied and started working in an industry where he had the full intention of earning a lot of money. That was his goal. And then even when he did, it it didn't change the suffering he experienced, right? Because he was still suffering that state of mind. He was still suffering the feeling of not having enough, even when there was more than enough. Is that a Maxine? It's nice seeing you, dear friend. Just thinking about, I'm just thinking about Rape Melty. That's the situation that no one has ever willingly showed up for, and definitely did not show up for in love. Again, Duck Dad, I might get cancelled for saying this, but I disagree. I'm not saying that, it is good that someone got raped or it was loving that someone got raped, but I do believe the person being victimized and the person victimizing are the same entity choosing to be instead of not being, right? And in that way, it's still a choice. And I know that I cannot technically say that because I haven't been victimized in that way, right? And if someone actually have and had to hear me say that, I wouldn't expect them to be anything other than angry at me for saying something like that. So I understand, right? But again, everything, everything, not only the parts we like, not only the parts we approve of, but everything in infinity, including the rape, including the murder, including the victimization, including the hurting of one another, everything, and for love, everything for love, as a choice, as a showing up for everything for love, as consciousness, opening your eyes to everything only because you know that experience is going to be loving, not for any other reason. That's a hard one, dude. And again, on this analogy, since we're talking about it, someone having been raped, being able to survive that situation, being able to see it through, not dying, from that. I believe the reason they survived, again, is because of love. The reason they were capable of transcending that experience, being able to see it through, go through it, and see the other side of it, is because of love. The reason they continue living instead of killing themselves because of the amount of pain they went through is because of love. And in that way, it does remain a choice. if they continue telling themselves the story of their own victimhood, and that is the narrative they show up for in the world, that is a choice. And they'll get to live that choice. They'll get to experience what the world gives them if that is the way they show up for it. It doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't make it any easier. And again, I'm not the one who gets to say anything about this because I haven't been through a situation like that. I'm here. Love you again. It's nice having you. Felt like playing 3 seconds of Kalimba. I started the stream with 444. Feel like. You want me to play you some Kalimba with a Joe Schmo? Wouldn't be a bad idea, actually, especially with the intensity of what's happening in our minds right now. Nothing worse than a cheap man. Ugh. I mean, there are worse things, Choiviv. A man that rapes women, for example, is worse than a cheap man. You know, like you can have all of the money in the world and be able to buy yourself, you know, all of the things and rape people, and then you're still a piece of shit. I don't think. I think there are worse things than a cheap man. That's amazing. Sometimes to be happy, you have to stop being at war with yourself. I'm here. Love you again, Maxine. Juju. So much love, Joshmo. Please take your hand off my face. I don't know where you have put that thing previously. Yeah. I'm sorry to say this, Joy Vive. Maybe I just shouldn't say it. It's one of those brain damage memes that kind of like scar you to humanity. Joe, stream starts of Kalimba. If you're joining, I do want to start the streams of Kalimba to kind of like set the scene. You guys, you know the condition. When you wake up all night and you keep on getting up to just eat, and I found out there's a name for it. Pippi is trying to, like, there's already a dog on my lap right now, Pepperkis. There's only like one lap. You see, this is what happens sometimes. There's only that much lap, and there's two dogs right now. I know you want to like do something and like sit up here with me, but like Eva is already occupying the space. What am I supposed to do? You want me to push her off? That wouldn't be fair, would it? That would cause suffering. And I know I can see you're suffering. I can see it. I see how much you're suffering, not being able to sit on my lap. She's like so jealous right now, and she wants me to like remove Eva from my lap. I can hear her screaming in her mind, suffering this reality. Oh, can you believe that I don't get to, you're not suffering, Pippi. It's gonna be fine. In some nom 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 nom. Oh, that's unironically funny. I like that. Fortunately, for me, it's just before night. I never wake up in the middle of the night to go and eat something. I had a weird inception moment yesterday. I finally looked up what the emerald tablets were. Oh, good. Good. The emerald tablets have some wisdom in them on YouTube, and they kept saying gateway process. I wonder if our gateway is named after that. I wouldn't be surprised if she is, weirdly enough. I would actually be, like, oh, of course, if she did. Being so far, my day has consisted of building a block tower for Fruit Cup to knock over. A lot of time so far. Sounds like good fun. Thank you for spending the time. Always Kalimba. So much love. Sounds like insanity to me. We're all a little mad here. Chaos is like a little human. Excellent conversation. I must head out. Much love. Duck Dad. We'll see you again soon. Kari, that's love for sure. I'll spend an hour making Zoburbs wooden toys for him to reduce them to toothpicks in a matter of minutes. And then we rinse and repeat with a smile. He destroys the little wooden toys you make for him. It's so brutal. A little savage. Lovizana is here too. Sending you love and friend. Thank you for joining us. Even Zano. Nice. So much love. May the party begin now. Yes. Officially party time. Maybe we'll do 3 minutes and 33 seconds of Kalimba by Joe Schmo's request. Like, my mind is getting wrecked right now. It's getting wrecked. It is. Because I'm considering everything I said. And I do stand by it, right? I do stand by it. Like, I stand by it from this perspective of knowing that there are versions of me potentially getting raped right now, right? Consciousness. And I believe that rape is not only a sexual thing. Hey Google, define rape. Rape is a type of sexual assault involving sexual intercourse or other forms of sexual penetration carried out against a person without their consent. So in this, they stated twice that it is a sexual assault, sexual intercourse, or sexual penetration. So maybe in the traditional sense of the word, there has to be some sort of sexual aspect to it. The way I think of it is anything that is done onto you against your will, right? Against your consent. And it's like we were having our minds raped by our current world, right? The amount of exploitation in that way, right? Like against our will. Do you want to be living in a world where you have to pay to survive? Right? Our dogs don't pay to survive. Our cats don't pay to survive. The birds in the trees don't have to pay rent for where they live. Like it's like we're in a weird way, being coerced into the state of being that none of us want to be. Did we consent to this? Right? I got born into a world where these things were already the way they are. I don't know if I actually consented. And yet, again, to bring that whole fractal into today's stream topic, we are not here to be victims. We are not here to suffer. We are here because we noticed suffering. We are here to help the victims. We noticed, we saw as conscious beings, as souls, as God, whatever word you want to use. We saw what was happening on earth at this time in history, and we decided to incarnate. We decided to come here and be this version of self in order to help, not in order to hurt either the others or as a self, but in order to help. Play some kalimba for Josh Ma. Consideration. Consideration. Can also be a big one, huh? Consideration is like one of the things that I end up suffering in my life more than anything, you know? Where if I feel, John is here, if I feel like I'm not being considered, I suffer. I suffer so much. Get myself all into a tizzy. All worked up, if you will. Let me read some comments. So much love. Can you play the intro to Pimp? No. Uh, sorry, Corey. I don't know how to play anything specifically. All of the music I play on the kalimba, I play as an extension of my mind, not as an extension of a song. Let me see some more. Shelly Fruit Cup loves the sweaters that you made for her. She always tries to put them on when when they're in view. So much love. Melty, is that the instrument you had mentioned that disappeared for a while and couldn't find it? Nope. That is my jaw harp. I still have not found the jaw harp. The jaw harp has been absorbed by the universe. I don't know where it is. You know, it's like one of those things where it's just gone. Like I think it might have been lost in the grass somewhere or something, but it is no longer with us. In so many words, like I have not been able to find it since. I'm gonna get this light. Oh goodness. There we go. Man. That'll do it. Yeah, it's more brightness. Doop 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 doop. His mouth harp disappeared. I think the aliens took it as a souvenir. I think so as well, Joy. I had a dream about losing it, or not losing it. I had a dream about it getting wrecked, like completely mangled and broken, and the tine was like super bent, and it didn't thing anymore. And I was like in the dream, and then I woke up the next day unable to find it, and that was kind of confusing. I was like, is this supposed to be a lesson? We have Kitty saying hi to us. It's a meow. Meow 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 meow. It's a kazi meow meow. Meow meow meow. Yeah. Kitties. Okay. Aunt B, do what you can with what you've got where you are. When the philosophical school of existentialism, we are forced into this world, we don't get a say in the most important decision made, to be born. I 100% disagree. Like, I aggressively disagree with that sentiment, actually. Like, I do not think we're forced into this world. I do think it was a choice. And we chose this life, the life you're leading right now, knowing everything about it, right? I do believe this as well, that you knew what was going to happen to you. Everything, everything. In infinite knowledge as the infinite consciousness. And you decided, because you were so loving, to be this version of the self you have chosen to be. But this is my perspective. Like I feel like I'm a little bit egotistical in that way, right? Where I would like to believe that if we could be anywhere, right? Because infinity is real, you know, at least conceptually, at least mathematically, infinity is real. If we look at our universe ever expanding, there is a infinite nature to that reality as well, right? Clearly, there is something about infinity that the human mind can fantasize about, but can't really facilitate completely, even though I believe you are infinite in that way as well. So if we're going to consider there being a potentiality for everything, being infinity, that means within that infinite set, everything. Again, you living as this person, as a doctor, or as a nurse, or as a race car driver, or as an astronaut, or as the president of the United States, or as a dog groomer. This version of you that you are right now living, Kitty is. You want to get on my lap, Kitty, Kitty? This version of you is everything, everywhere, all at the same time. And you, from a place of consciousness, this consciousness that you are, loved yourself so much that you decided to be yourself. You decided to be this version of you, this reality that you're experiencing, and everything that comes along with it, because it is worthy, it is loving, right? Even the suffering, right? Even like especially the suffering, sometimes even that I have learned so much from the moments that I would consider suffering. More. I have learned significantly more from the moments I would consider suffering than I did from the moments that were just happy chappy, no problems, right? So what are we here for? Are we here to just bliss out? If we're here to just bliss out, why not just hook ourselves up to a drip, spaz out, just get like morphine pumped into our system ceaselessly? No, thank you. I don't want to live that life. I'm not here to just be in nonstop bliss. No. Sometimes I'm gonna hit my toe against the corner. I'm gonna be like, oh fuck, that fucking hurts, and I'll be like, yes, that was clearly what I'm here for. That's why I had the experience. Oh, on boob. Mochi does pay rent by catching flies. He's severely behind, but he knows that he can cuddle his death away with me. So much love. My ears started ringing when you started playing. Mm. Like I take that as like depending on which side it happened, like left or right ear, it has different meanings as well. I learned this from Shan. But yeah, there is tuning in happening. I read somewhere that when your ear rings without silence, it means that the angels have messages for you. There we go. I do work with Angels Ninja. That are tinnitus, music therapy. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. What a gift to us. No, you. Hey, everyone. Love you again to you, John. Depends on how often you hear the ringing, I suppose. I mean, it makes sense for me that all of those noise at work and the times I've been to a concert that's too loud. I have tinnitus, but I've had tinnitus since I can remember. I've never not had tinnitus, and a part of this never not having had tinnitus was before work and before I went to loud festivals as well. So peaceful. Thank you, Maxine. Thank you, dear friend. Depends on how often you hear the ringing. I think another one, Shanansky. I was thinking about your daughter wanting to learn the trombone, and I wanted to send you the song I wrote from my favorite jazz trombonist. Thank you for posting a link. Yeah, the links work these days. I think if there are links to YouTube, they work. I have a kalimba too. It's round though. When I get it from my mom in storage, I'll take a pic and post it in Discord. I'm suffering about it now. Oh goodness, Zano. I think it's gonna be fun for you to be playing it. The jaw harp slipped through the other side. That thing is gone. It's so gone. I did. Thank you, Lovizana. I'll check it out. Love is true. I'm in Narnia. It's in Narnia next to all of my left socks. I didn't YouTube allow YouTube links neither. It seems that way. I'm also noticing the same kind of synchronicity. Happy to see that you're also noticing, Joe. I totally buy into this perspective, and I'm gonna write it down after the stream. The infinity one, right? From like, if we're gonna assume infinity is a thing, right? We have to assume what comes along with that acceptance, right? It's the same thing with like love is true. If we have to accept that love is true, we have to accept that so is the suffering, right? Like, it's like you can't have you have to have your pie and eat it too kind of vibe. Like you have to, and I shared this with John as well in that festival experience. It's easy enough to accept the truth, right? It's not easy to accept the implications that that truth holds, right? It's easy enough to accept the truth of infinity, that things go on forever, right? Falling and rising, falling and rising, falling and rising, ebbs and flows, the sine waves forever onwards, right? But it's not easy to accept the part of, where we're dead right now, right? There's a reality where you just had a heart attack and died, and that was your life, right? It's not easy to accept that because it's almost inconceivable for us to consider that. But that is what infinity means. That is what infinity means. Everything, an infinite amount of times, right? That's the other joke, that there is trillions, infinite billions, right, of instances of myself sitting in this stream right now, having this exact conversation simultaneously. Infinity, like that. It's so far beyond the human reasoning that we just rather not, right? It's the implications of the everything is too much for the human mind to fathom. So we don't. We suffer instead. We would rather suffer. Be like, yeah, I could not suffer by understanding that everything is perfect as it is, because it is a part of the everything. It is occupying a slot of everything, that if it didn't occupy that exact slot of everything, there would be a this reality sized hole in reality, right? Creating a paradox, causing us to be sucked into nothingness, into some sort of black hole. But no, you exist as this version of self right now here, so that you can exist as this version of self right now here. And you have never not existed as this version of self right now here, because this right now and here doesn't go away when you do. It doesn't go away when the stream ends. It doesn't go away in 10,000 years from now, because it remains. Here you are in the now. And this now is eternal, right? Past, present, and future are all happening right now. That is concerning. It's a little bit concerning. You're like, excuse me, what do you mean past, present, and future exists right now? I don't know what I mean. Singularity, I guess. Unity, right? Infinity and unity at the same time, right? Is absurd. A oneness that is the everything. Oh, my mind is getting melted totally by this perspective. Shan, what does the ringing mean in the perspective to the sides? I don't know if she knows directly from a quote like that, but you can Google it. What does it mean when my left ear rings? And it can tune you information, and then you can ask for the right side as well. Corey saying, yes, Melt, there is a counter to the point of the view. We didn't choose to be here. And that's that our soul chose to live this life. If I chose our family because we have something to teach them, as well as we have something to learn from them, the problem is that the part of the deal is that we forget that we're born into this world and realm. I agree with that. There is a forgetting happening when we come here. So we have to relearn what we're supposed to be teaching, being influenced one way or another on this journey, and that's where suffering and pain can come into play. When we don't align with our soul's message, and we have to find a way to get back into alignment. This I resonate with perfectly, beloved Corey. I do. And I would like to add again, just because my egoic mind doesn't want to shut up, the whole we don't choose to be here with like the family you get, right? I do believe you do still. I do. Because if you don't approve, you can just not, right? You can just decide to not. You can leave your family. You can leave this world. You can leave these experiences behind. And I believe you choose to continue because there is something to be learned, something to be loved, right? Like you don't take away your ability to suffer by committing suicide. You only take away the ability to see suffering, right? You don't take away the chance to to not feel bad anymore. You just take away the chance to feel better. And it's a weird trip in that way. And I've been there as well, so nihilistic. Oh, totally by this perspective, blah blah blah. The idea that we choose this life because we love this version. Yes, and I believe this, Shell. I do believe that. I really do. Because why would you? Why would you choose this life if you didn't love it, right? As consciousness, as a part of the infinity. Why this life if it's not loved by you? You don't have yak pie without it being full of. You can't have yak pie without full of ears. Yeah, exactly. If I remember correctly, John, and depending on the pitch, I think to the right ear, it's a change in your vibration, and the left ear is a message from the angels or past loved ones. There we go. My right ear rings often. Change in vibrations, dude. You do kind of tune into multiple different ones. So my right ear rings at 728 hertz. Just checked with my frequency generator app, seeing which ones it does. I think a higher pitch means raising your vibrations, a lower pitch is lowering your vibration. Well, that's like, I believe, the vibration associated with the third eye, right? 728 is like third eye vibration. Well, I think it's Terry Pratchett's Equal Rights. That's a scene where an old wizard meets death, and it describes how he's looking at his pet cat and seeing it in all stages of time, as a kitten, as a young cat, as an old cat, all at once. It made a big impression on me. I don't know if I'm describing it well, though. You're describing it perfectly. Perfectly, Loazana. That's the thing I'm trying to get at. Right. Past, the kitten, present, the cat, future, the bones, all visible at the same time, right? And another way to explain this concept in a way that might be a little bit more personal, easier to grasp, I think is a good word, is to understand. You can look at your hand right now, right? So hold out your hand in front of your face. I have a piece of grass on it. You see something that occupies 3 dimensions, right? And then at the same time, you can watch how this 3-dimensional thing occupies different places in space time. Space, time, right? Time being another dimension, another slice of this reality, right? And you can like actively watch how this thing changes right in front of your face. So the fact that you can witness a 3-dimensional thing moving through a 4-dimensional space time means to me that the thing that you are, your consciousness, exists outside of it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see 3D, and you wouldn't be able to see the 3D move in the 4D realm of time. You exist outside of those, right? And the ultimate part of your consciousness, which you still are, you as consciousness facilitating to the infinite consciousness, right? Sees all at the same time, right? Consciousness, true consciousness, facilitates for all 3 dimensions to exist and all of time to exist at the same time, right? As a observer, as something that opens up, facilitates the process of life that we're experiencing right now, right? And our consciousness differs. For instance, the way we see things grow, right? Like imagine, for example, a fly's perspective or a hummingbird's, right? Like its slice of reality, its perception of space time is vastly different to ours. But to its consciousness, it's perfectly normal. Oh, I can move my wings? Hey, Google, how many times does a. Did I instantly forget the freaking name of those things? Hummingbird. Hey, Google, how many times does a hummingbird flap its wings in a minute? 10 to 15 times per second. There's nothing you can do that you can do 10 to 15 times in a single second, right? Maybe like produce neurochemicals or whatever, but like wiggle your finger, like That's like the fastest finger wiggling I can do, right? That's like significantly slower than 10 to 15 times per second. And to my consciousness, this is perfectly normal, right? I'm not confused by the fact that this is the fastest I can open my hand and close it back up again, right? But to a bird, it's reality, it's conscious perspective, seeing its ability to be able to move this wing 10 to 15 times in a single second. One, right? It did. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. And to it, it's perfectly normal. It's like, yeah, this is what I see. This is what my reality is. This is the part of infinity that I occupy. And there are entities that experience time in swaths of billions of years. For instance, the entity that just went and hid itself behind that hill, the star that we surround, experienced time over billions of years. I do believe our sun is conscious, as I believe our planet is conscious as well. Sure, woo woo. But I do believe they're conscious and they experience time, but they don't experience time the way we do, right? Like us as human beings to the earth is like a blip, like a bzz, like a whoop, right? And you can, in that, make a good difference or a horrible one. And what you choose to do, what you choose to believe about yourself is what facilitates that kind of behavior. Fruit cup, passed out on my lap, watching Melty. Poor girl's had a bunch of fresh air the last few days, and she's feeling it. Guess I'm staying outside with her as much as possible until winter hits. Expose her to the world, dude. Let her see everything. Or, well, octaves of it. 728 is between the heart and the throat chakra. Oh, how about that? I was wrong, actually. I'm not surprised that that's the frequency that he tunes in either. Like, I feel John very much occupies heart and throat energy. He's a musician. I wanted to say singer. You can say singer, right? Yeah, he's a singer. He does the sing things. There we go. Down the brightness a little bit. No folly, folly. Good. What do hiccups mean? I get those a lot. Hiccups mean can be a psychic symptom, but apparently on the physiological level, hiccups is when you get air in your digestive tract or something like that, and it basically like contracts your core to get that air out of you. I get hiccups if I stand up too fast. Yeah, air. I get so mad when I get them because it sounds like a little guinea pig. They're so hard sometimes. They're uncomfortable. For me, a hiccup is just like straight up uncomfortable. I don't like it. It's like I would rather not be hiccuping right now. Suffering, right? Wanting for things to be differently. That's the biggest part about hiccuping. Because the actual hiccup, it's not that bad, right? It's not that painful. It's not that much of an inconvenience. But the part of you that screams in, stop hiccuping. I don't want to be hiccuping right now. I shouldn't be hiccuping. That's suffering. Again, coming back to the stream topic. It's crazy to think that different living things experience life with more frames per second. Like cats must think we're so slow. Yeah, cats especially. Like cats' ability to jump and then to land perfectly with their little feetsies on something that is thinner than their whole body. It is like I'm like, how fast are you processing information to be able to do that? I cure them by drinking water upside down. Works every time. I haven't actually done that before. I don't get hiccups that much, fortunately. Hiccups are a spasm of the diaphragm, I learned. So, what I do, if the peanut butter trick doesn't work, is I take a large breath of air and bend forward and then press the lungs down to stop the spasm. I like how we're getting some advice on hiccups right now. Same with dogs. Pretty sure they see faster than we do. Like to them, we're walking almost in slow motion. Weirdly enough, Corey, I don't completely agree for the simple fact that the speed at which I can move my hand, like I do play with Pippi, and there's like a certain game we do where I like reach my hand out above her head, and then she tries to bite me, and then I whip my hand back. Like maybe she experiences time faster than me, but she cannot move her body accordingly, right? I don't know if cats can either. But for instance, a hummingbird, your hand movements, even like the fastest hand movements I can have, will still be like comically slow to it. Like a fly, for example, as well. Like if you slam down on a fly with your hand, it's like this. Your hand is like coming at it, and it like has time to decide to start moving or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, just gonna move out of the way. They do. I wish I could remember the FPS rates that these critters experience. I remember cats were something wild, and dogs were super up there too. Okay, so they do experience it faster. But what I'm thinking about is like the movement. Like you might experience faster FPS, right, frames per second of reality, but how fast can you move? And I feel like hummingbirds are up there, like dragonflies as well. Dragonflies are insane. Like they have some insane biomechanics to be able to move in ways that we can't even imagine. Like if, for instance, if you as a human being were to put yourself in an aircraft that could move like a dragonfly could, it will literally snap your neck, will break your bones with the amount of G-force that they just gonna create in any vector. It's so insane. Humans can do crazy calculations without even thinking about it and almost instantly know how hard you need to squeeze something to pick it up. It's so crazy you say that. Like, I feel like that's probably going to be one of the hardest problems for us to solve with our robots. Like, for instance, when I have to carry all of my things back inside, I sometimes like try and like put so many things in my hand, and like I'll use like these three fingers to hold onto something, and then I'll use like this pinky to hang something on, and I'll use this ring finger to press something against the other things that I'm holding, to be able to hold on to like a bunch of different things at the same time. Those calculations are pretty insane. I agree. Earth even has like a pulse, our Schumann resonance, right? Micro vibrations that happen once every 26 seconds nowadays. You know about the Schumann resonance, dude? Right, like there's like literally vibrations coming off of the earth right now. Another crazy thing that humans can do, you can know how something will feel on your tongue just by looking at it and thinking about how it will feel to lick it. Anyone ever licked tree bark? No, but it's true. You can probably imagine how it would feel. That's one of the craziest things that I've noticed as well. Like I think I read it on a post or something where you can like look at something, look in your room, and then think, what would it be like to lick that? And like instantly. Even like you can look at things you've never licked in your life before, and Just- like I wonder about that part of ourselves. Like why is that possible? Google says dogs are 70 FPS, cats are 100 FPS, and humans are a measly 15 FPS. So they can probably pick out more detail and movement if they wanted to. Reaction speed is definitely something different though. Yeah. Is that worse? Is it worse to have really fast perception and really slow reaction speed? Because then you'll just get to know how slow you are, right? More so than watching TV is like a fast slideshow for doggers and kidders, literally. A cat reaction is faster than a cobra strike, literally. They can literally like jump away before the cobra can actually hit them. I've seen that personally with puff adders and our cats. This was a while ago though. Team is like, their wear is a scarf. It can also function as a sack, carries everything into hands and wears the scarf. I guess you can make one, right? If anything. Dragonflies are my second favorite to butterflies. They live half their lives underwater, and some eat fish. They have a retractable jaw that shoots out and grabs the fish. It's so sick. Yeah, they're monsters, right? Like they're monsters in the water and above the water. Like dragonflies are brutal. They can like catch prey out of the air. They like chase down flies, catching them out of the air, and they have like these interesting, legs as well. And Zano is completely right. Like in their larval state, They're monsters. They're like straight up the boogeymen of the water, eating fish. You know, jaws that come out of their faces to catch something. Melt, I'm referring to more like the actual microquakes that happen every 26 seconds that they can measure with seismological equipment, not the sound or the frequencies being released constantly. There's a heartbeat every 26 seconds. The earth is awakening. I've seen infinity scarves with pockets, but they're mostly for winos who want to try to sneak stuff into a venue. Oh, of course. That's perfect. I'm guessing winos are people who drink. Winos. I've never heard that word before. Let's read what Sacred Geometry has to say today, shall we? Are you ready, dear friends? I'm feeling some things. I feel contrary. I think I'm hungry or something. Melt more, I'm saying that you wear a scarf, and scarves can be used as sacks. So you can carry everything in one hand in the sack scarf. Oh, I'm trying to be helpful. Okay, I get what you're saying. I would agree with you completely, Shell, if I had to go far. If it was like a distance thing where I was like really like missioning multiple kilometers, then I would kind of like subscribe to Scarf Sack. But since I like have it in my hand and then I move it from one room to another and then I put it down, I don't actually like having things in my hands for extended period of times. Then I would probably, not do it for that reason. Dragonflies are awesome. Peach and I went camping one time on Crown Land, and there were dragonflies as far as we could see, patrolling for bugs like helicopters flying at different altitudes. What geez. You could see the two chase after a fly and then rejoin the others that we're flying with. It was amazing to see. That makes me so happy just to hear. Card time! Yeah, light green is Zano's prediction, and orange or gray. I don't think there are any gray cards in this deck, to be completely honest. But let's see, orange or light green? Light green or orange? This Pippi is like so jealous. It's like, don't you dare come close to me. This is my space. This is my seat, mine alone. Pink and purple. This one feels the one. Oh, that is pink and purple. But there's also thick lines of orange running through it. And look, there's lines of green as well. Light green, actually. Look at that. That's actually like light green behind the orange layers. So sick. I mean, it's maybe a little bit more red. It goes from red down to orange at the bottom. But that's definitely pinkish light purple as the core color of the card. And we don't pull the platonic solids a lot. Card number 35. Didn't we pull card number 36 yesterday? And of course, at the bottom of the deck, there's card number 34. Sending you lovin's. Jovan. Mel, pull a card on our topic this morning with your ideas. I was actually talking about the conversation we had in stream today, dude. Knowing what I'm supposed to do, fully knowing what I'm supposed to do, and just not wanting to. The card for our topic, Mountain Apus. Mountain Apus. As you are called to these places of power, remember to always go in a sacred manner with respect for the people and the cultures of the region. Recognize that you are called to journey to these regions and feel the spirit of place that resides there. You are connecting to wisdom traditions old and new in a manner that can enhance your personal worldview as well as aid in the reconnection of the energy grids. That's a little bit concerning, the amount of accuracy. I'm gonna have to go out there and talk to people, get them to give me their money, for services, etc., etc. And I don't want to do that. And John is encouraging me to. Oh, I found the quote from Equal Rights. The wizard looked down at the cat and realized for the first time how odd it looked now. The living often don't appreciate how complicated the world looks when you are dead, because while death frees the mind from the straitjacket of the three dimensions. That, like, I can feel Terry Pratchett's writing and reading this. It also cuts away from time, which is only another dimension. Yeah. Yeah, Terry Pratchett. What a gangster. That dude. One of my favorite pieces of writing of his, the Hosanna, is where he talks about the trees, right? Also, in experiencing time, like it's beautiful. Let me see if I can find it. I'm probably gonna have to ask ChatGPT. Can you please give me the excerpt from the Terry Pratchett book where he talks about the way the trees experience time? I'm sorry, but alternatively, you can provide. That's some bullshit, yo. I'm gonna copy that. Let's see if I can find it on Google directly. Man, come on. You're hurting my heart. Yeah. I think it's from. I can't even remember the book title name. It's fine. Put it down. Zaina! Hello and good morning, Meltmore and beautiful friends. I miss you so much. I hope all is well. I'm sending lots of love and positive vibes to all. Sending love your way too, dear friends. Nice seeing your name. Hope you've been well. Hope the new work has been going well as well. It's nice having you here. So while the cat that rubbed up against his invisible leg was undoubtedly the same cat that he had seen a few minutes before, it was also, quite clearly, a tiny kitten, and a fat, half-blind old Moggy, and every stage in between. All at once, since it had started off small, it looked like a white, cat-shaped carrot, a description that we'll have to do until people invent proper four-dimensional adjectives. This is making me so happy. I'm doing well, Sena. Love is true. Yes, I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know. We pulled this card. The dodecahedron? Yeah, the dodecahedron. Working on raising my vibe each day. Sena, how about you? This is how we do it. Consciously evolving, dear friends. Consciously evolving. Choosing to evolve every day, every moment, with divine thought as the core meaning. This dodecahedron, with its 12 equal pentagonal faces, is one of 5 three-dimensional shapes commonly called the Platonic solids. The dodecahedron is associated with the feminine side of our nature and the element of ether or prana. It is a symbol of heaven and divine thought. Choosing this card connects you with divine thought and asks you to contemplate the truth of universal oneness. How many times have we talked about this today? Contemplate the truth of universal oneness, it says. It's not me. Both metaphysical and quantum physics affirm that we are part and parcel of every particle of energy and one with all of creation. Consciously move into your breath and connect with the prana force that resides there. Feel yourself moving away from the concept of duality and separation into an experience of oneness and unity with all of life. Breathe deeply and enjoy a feeling of harmony within your being. Visualize how this divine thought will affect your present life. Celebrate the shifts you are making and realize how they will aid all of humanity in our intentional evolution from polarity consciousness to divine oneness. Yeah. That's what I've been trying to say in today's stream, and it feels like I'm failing. I think that's the thing that I'm tripping out about. I feel like I'm failing right now. I feel like I'm not doing my job appropriately, and my ego doesn't like that. screaming at my persona, not like this. And then my awareness is just like, the fuck's happening here, dude? What's happening right now? Working on raising the vibe, amazing. Love is true. Same, Melty. You're doing fine. You're doing fine, Maxine. Keep tuning into divine thought. Breathe. Just breathe. Breathe. Everything's gonna be okay. We will be able to weather all suffering one breath at a time. One breath at a time. I love you, friends. Thank you for joining me again, for finding yourself in another moment for us to show up in, choosing to be here instead of choosing to be anywhere else, to find ourselves one with this moment, right? I know you friends already know, but it's good to be reminded, for me, by you, it's good to be reminded how much love is true. We love you too, Melty. Thank you, Lovizana. Thank you, everyone, for sharing another moment with me today. S-Rock, today's stream was perfect, Mel. Of course, you had to just flatter the heck out of me, dude. Or do that. Doesn't matter. Love you nonetheless. Thank you so much. Love you all. Have the best day of your life so far. Yeah. Yeah, you're not a victim. You are a conscious and willing participant. Lovingly participating, even. All right? Willing to keep participating because you know there is yet to be more Levins, more doggos running around, more little flowers sprouting and growing anew, more beautiful sunrises, sunsets, more trees to be planted, to be grown. Love is true, dear friends. I love you all so big, 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 big. Thank you for teaching me how to love bigger and more every day. Thank you for always being so loving, dear friend. Shan, have the most beautifulest day, everyone. I, for realsers, love you all so very super gigantically massively macho grande dearly. Melt and all of you wonderfully amazingly spectacular friends. As we love you, 444 showing, yeah, 44% here as well. Battery percentage on 46, 27%. Okay, not that much synchronicity. Okay, love you, dear friend. Love and see you too. Thank you for joining me again. Until we do this again tomorrow. I'll see you soon. I love you. Bye bye. Sign out too. Cheers.